Elite athlete Jase Mathews decides today.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets with a first $5 bet winner. Today's show is going to conclude with discussion about the LSU Tigers, the Georgia Bulldogs, and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, as they are barometers of how to recruit in the trenches and balance it out outside with speed and playmakers. The teams that get to the playoff and that could make it happen after they get there, they recruit like this. And I'm going to discuss some of the key players from, again, LSU, Georgia, and Notre Dame to kind of signify what it looks like to do it the right way. And we're also going to start off the show and get through the majority of it talking about Jase Mathews. In my opinion, the top overall just pure athlete in the class of 2026. Out of Greene County High School in Weeksville, Mississippi, this is a freak, and this is a guy that just turns heads and has earned it. He is a national recruit. He's down to 3 schools, LSU, Auburn, and Ole Miss. Where will he go? He announces tonight at 7 Eastern. But I want to break down his game for what I've seen of him on film and what little that people may know about him. Note the following. You're not going to out-jump him. You're not going to find somebody with just better, pure ability to make the dynamic wow catch, like one-handed back behind him. You name it, he can make those plays. It's on film. As they say in the National Football League, the eye in the sky does not lie. And Jase Mathews puts it on film. He doesn't always get the spotlight because he plays at a county school down in Southeast Mississippi. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. And that's why his offer list is through the roof. And that's why so many people are excited about it. But as I've said before on some other shows, I just wanted to note the following, because this puts it in perspective in terms of athleticism, first and foremost. Jase Mathews, at the age of about 15, Deuce Knight, the now freshman quarterback at Auburn, told me about this. They grew up fairly close together and they know each other pretty well. He told me Jase could absolutely dunk a basketball by taking it through his legs when he was about 15 years old, a freshman in high school. How many freshmen do you know that could do that? And watching the high school film from his junior season, like the way he hangs in the air with his length, I can kind of see it. Now, I don't know how big Jase was when he was 15, but I can assure you he can pretty much put his head on the rim now. That is not a normal player. But here are some of the other things that I like about his game. Yes, he can definitely go deep, just run a simple 9 route. If you do not get hands on him and redirect, it will be difficult to stay in front of him. He's got that kind of speed, but it's at the catch point, even if he's got a safety over the top, or even if the DB did a nice job towards the line of scrimmage to get him off his route. He's strong enough, and he has the moxie to use moves at the appropriate time to create separation down the field. It's not just at the line of scrimmage. He can gain separation. He will create it out of a break, stop and go, using head fakes, whatever it is. He's got some pretty good moves, and he's still a developing player. He's nowhere near a finished product as a wide receiver. I'm not saying he's an elite route runner yet. He's good at it, but it's still the athleticism and the in-the-moment prowess that Jase Mathews possesses that makes him, in my opinion, a conservatively top 5 receiver nationally, because you can't teach the physical traits. And then to that point, I just want to reiterate, like, he will catch the ball behind him with one hand. If it's near him in a 50-50 situation, even most college defensive backs who are older, stronger, because they've been through strength and conditioning programs and all the conditioning, they still probably won't get to the football the way he does because of his God-given ability. It is truly unique. Now let's talk about the finalists and why they are really unique, yet not surprising on his list. got LSU, got the home state Ole Miss Rebels, and you have Auburn. Let's start with LSU. They've killed it in Mississippi for years, and they've already got Tristan Keys this year. They got Bryson Cooley, among others, from some other kids from that state. We'll get into the LSU group, ironically, in the second part of the show, why I like their class so much anyway. But this is a school that always finds kids in Mississippi, and they throw it around. They had the Heisman winner last year, and they also, 2 years ago, and they also had, of course, Joe Burrow in 2019. Receivers know that LSU is going to throw the ball. It's proven. And he's a Southern Mississippi kid, although further east, but that's a program he hears about a lot. Would it be shocking if he ended up at LSU on National Signing Day? No. But they do have Jabari Mack already in the fold. They have Tristan Keys. They've got a really good class overall. They do think that there's a chance that one or more of their key players are going to be gone after this year at receiver. They'd like a fourth. And, of course, adding a guy as good as him, I mean, I get it. You're going to go after Jase Mathews really hard, but it's a luxury. If LSU doesn't get him, they still got a top 5 wide receiver class by any metric, probably top 3. So don't feel sorry for LSU if they do not land Jase Mathews. As for the Ole Miss Rebels, Lane Kiffin's offense is the first thing they're selling. It's not that hard. Trey Harris last year, and then just so many other guys that they've had. I mean, I'd imagine that any wide receiver from the Deep South, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, if Ole Miss offers you, it's going to be an attractive situation. But Ole Miss has probably missed on more in-state kids this year than I thought they would the entire cycle already. They're not doing that well in-state. It's important for them to go after Matthews. Will they make a late run at him with NIL or anything else? It's possible. And then finally, the Auburn Tigers. They've got Cam Coleman. They just, their overall group, Sam Turner, a freshman, came in, is already turning heads. They've got about 5 or 6 guys. Perry Thompson's like 5th or 6th on the depth chart. He was borderline 5-star out of high school a couple years ago. They're loaded, but like Singleton they brought over from Georgia Tech's probably going to be gone after this year. Then Cam Coleman will be gone after next year at the very least. Malcolm Simmons might be a guy who turns pro early. They need at least one impact guy, and they've already had a couple of receivers commit and then decommit. So Devin Carter was committed. He ended up flipping his commitment to Florida State, where his dad, Dexter Carter, former famous Florida State player from 86 to 90, then on in the NFL, he's at. They lost Denarius Gray, a kid from South Florida. He flipped to Kentucky, of all places. That's wild. They got to get at least one. I'm sure they're willing to pay for Jase. How much, I don't know. But that's a really interesting recruitment because you want to keep that going if you're Auburn. You're trying to attract guys. And you, again, he knows Deuce. Like they grew up like one town apart down in the southeastern part of Mississippi. So the word on the street is Auburn's the favorite. And because of that, it wouldn't surprise me. I'd imagine that the NIL is pretty competitive between the 3 schools. And although Ole Miss is not known, quote unquote, as the school that throws a ton of NIL, for a kid like this, I imagine they might scrape together a little more than normal. We'll see when Jase announces. And again, it's supposed to be at 7 Eastern tomorrow night. So we'll see, or tonight. We'll see what happens with that. But good luck to Jase Matthews wherever he goes. He is an elite prospect and one that any school would be very, very lucky to have. I think he should be ranked a 5-star player, personally. When we come back, we're going to talk about Georgia, Notre Dame, LSU, what makes their classes special, in the trend that all of them are setting. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. You've got all the stuff going on with college football, meaning over-unders, Heisman race. You've got individual player props, conference championships, plenty of things to talk about. And you got new daily promotions as well. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bet if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you once again for making Locked On the Portal your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. If you're on Apple, please hit that automatic download. It really helps us out a ton. Now let's talk about 3 of the best recruiting classes in college football this year. And these aren't done. I'm just using these as examples. I'm not saying they are the exact top 3, but they have similarities that I like. And I could have used other ones. I could have used USC, Ohio State, Oregon. I could have used some others. But I'm going LSU, Georgia, and Notre Dame. There's no particular order here. But again, similarities. Number 1 is they all have done a good job with the trenches. Notre Dame has 6 O-linemen. Georgia has 4. LSU has 4. I have a hard rule. You want at least 4 offensive linemen in every single recruiting class. Offensive linemen do not hit the portal that are really good as a general rule. And if they do, you're going to have to overspend because the market is massive with very few players in it. Recruit the high school kids, develop them, pay them, keep them on your rosters. All 3 of these schools, Georgia, LSU, Notre Dame, pick one, whichever one you want. Any of them could be considered the best O-line class in the country, depending on how you want to evaluate it. We'll go through those here in just a second, individually with each school, but O-line is where it starts for me. And with Georgia, just as an extra bonus, they've got 8 defensive linemen in this class. Yes, 8. They're trying to suck up as much talent as possible, keep the talent away from their competition, and that's why many think Georgia right now has the number 1 overall class. They've got 31 players in that class, and it's pretty interesting. Let's just start with Georgia since we're on the topic. Kenny Ogboko, the offensive lineman out of Georgia. His brother's a couple years older. He may be a key player this year at nose guard for the Dogs, but he's a 6'6" kid, 280, 290, really athletic, still coming into his own. He's not filled out yet, but he's got a chance to be a left tackle in the SEC. Those are the kinds of guys that Kirby Smart and his staff can hang their hat on. If you're going to compete for titles, you got to have those kinds of guys on the corner. And his athletic to, how do I say this? Powerful frame. Like he's not just one or the other. Like if you look at Ogboko, he's not just a guy that you think, okay, he's going to be just a power player or not just a finesse left tackle. He's a little of both. He could end up being that 6'6", 325-pound monster. I mean, a couple of years in Georgia's strength program, it's pretty well known. It's certainly possible. And I also think that he's a guy that could end up being an interior player if you wanted him to, because he's got enough strength. Flexibility is not a bad thing. The best player in that class, though, and this is where we get into the playmakers and getting in the edge, Caden Prothro, to me, is as good a tight end as there is in college football recruiting this year. Class of 26, you could pick a lot of different guys. If I could only pick one, I would go with Prothro. He's out of Bowden, Georgia. They won 3 state titles in a row. If Caden wins it this year, he'll have never left high school in any given season without a state title. He's gone for 4 in a row. So good luck to him and his squad. But they also have Braden Fogel. He's a tight end out of Ohio that is underrated. He's another guy that can be very, very talented. Prothro is probably more of a flex tight end. I could see Fogel being a little bit of a H-back athlete. And they also have Jay Lamar, one of the best running backs in the country. He's out of Colquitt, down in South Georgia. Famous program. Colquitt County is one of my favorite programs in the United States. He's used to the competition, really good football player. And they also have a lot of situations with guys just across their depth chart that are good. But I'd have to be remiss if I didn't mention Jared Curtis, the quarterback, the 5-star out of Nashville Christian. He's got a cannon for an arm. Had a chance to see him last year live. That is an impressive individual. The thing about him that I like the best, though, is his upside. He hasn't played great competition in high school, and he's got all the physical traits. Once he gets into Georgia's system and starts learning about all the different variances of post-snap reads, not just the actual read itself, when to throw it away, when to run out of bounds, understanding situational football with it. If he learns that stuff, Jared Curtis could be the first pick in the draft. Georgia's class is really, really good. As for LSU, let's break down a couple of different things. Number one, I could have picked any, like Martinez. They've got a big offensive lineman out of Gonzalez I could have talked about. They've got Tristan Keys, who I'll talk about here in a second. But a guy I think is flying under the radar is one of their offensive linemen. I think he could be a first-round pick, and that's Bryson Cooley out of West Jones High School in Laurel, Mississippi. That guy's a road grader. I don't think he's a left tackle. I think he can play right guard or right tackle, but just a menacing force. He's so powerful, so explosive out of his stance. Just want to mention him. I think he's going to be a star at LSU. They got Lamar Brown, as good an offensive, defensive lineman combination players I've seen in the last several years. He prefers defense. He's out of Baton Rouge. He's decided to stay home. Again, trenches. LSU's really killing it there. And they also got, in my opinion, the best pure defensive tackle in the country in Richard Anderson. That kid's out of Edna Carr High School in New Orleans. He's over 350 and still agile. I saw him live the same day I saw Lamar. I think his upside is incredible. Just needs to reshape his body a little bit like some of these other kids do. Really, really good athlete and just so powerful. He could be a two-gap player, or he could be a guy that even at his size can shoot gaps and create havoc. It's really incredible what Rich Anderson can do. Trenton Henderson, this is an intriguing player on the edge out of Pensacola Catholic. If you're looking for the prototypical edge player, speedy guy, he's it. He's athletic enough to play linebacker. And he was recruited by everybody, Florida State, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, you name it. But he decided to go to LSU. That is a big pickup. And Jabari Mack, I saw him at the Under Armour event as well. He's at a Destrehan High School in the greater New Orleans area, famous program. And he is just dynamic at running routes, keeping guys off guard. And he's built like a house, man. Jabari's about 6 foot, 200 pounds, put together. He looks like a college-ready player. I will not be surprised if he walks in and plays early for the Bayou Bengals. Jabari Mack is a fine-tuned machine. Really, really good football player. As for their class overall, they still have to get a quarterback. They still need to add more pieces overall, but it's not a big deal because the one thing that LSU did, and I talk about this a lot, is they were patient with their recruiting class. They didn't just go take guys willy-nilly. They went out. They decided on the players they wanted. They were patient. They're pushing forward. You know, they've got a good class. It's probably top 10, but they've only got 18 in the boat. Note that I said 31 for Georgia, 18 for LSU. They've got 4 or 5 more guys they can probably get. They could end up in the top 5. They absolutely could. This is why patience is important. And on top of it, they've already got impact guys and a lot of great players in the trenches. LSU has done a phenomenal job this year so far. If they want to be top 5, though, they probably need to steal a quarterback and balance it out across the board on some other positions. We'll see if they do. When we come back, we're going to finish up talking about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish recruiting class. Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish have a really well-rounded class. 26 players in the boat, 6 offensive linemen, including Grayson McKeo, another player that just has those athletic traits you can't teach, the length, the athleticism, and just the overall God-given ability to bend and change direction. At 6'6", like 260, that's what you're looking for. Even at that size, he recently did a backflip, and he put the video on his X profile. I'm like, holy cow. He could end up being the best left tackle in this entire class, but he's kind of a late bloomer. Penn State wanted him bad, among others. Notre Dame gets him at the 11th hour. Big-time pickup for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They also have 5 other commitments, again, in the trenches. They have really focused on staying a lineman-heavy program over the last, adding this class in, if it stays this way, over the last 6 years, Notre Dame will have signed 29 offensive linemen. That's a really good, consistent group, more than 4 per year, and Notre Dame recruits at a very high clip. So Notre Dame is as good an offensive line recruiting machine as there is in the country. Some of the other guys that I really like in their class and why I like their team in general, they had a big need at wide receiver. They got Devin Fitzgerald, they got Kadon Finley, they got Brayden Robinson. They've got a great group. They got 5 wide receivers, a lot of speed outside, and they also have a DB class that's elite. Kari Adams, big-time athlete out of Baltimore. I think you could play him at running back, wide receiver, safety, corner, doesn't matter. But his physical traits long-term, just as an example, are elite. Aiden Pouncey, another guy. He's even taller than Adams. Adams is probably 6'1"-ish. Pouncey's over 6'2". I've stood in front of him. That's a kid out of Winter Park, Florida, which is basically a small city inside Orlando. Elite athlete. I don't care if you play him at free safety, wide receiver, or corner. Aiden Pouncey is a dude. And then finally, the guy that has turned the most heads towards the end of this summer cycle, he is a great guy. He's somebody that I didn't know how big he was until I actually met him. But Joey O'Brien, by the way, he's Makio's teammate over in the Philadelphia area at LaSalle. He's 6'4.5", 185, 186 pounds. He could play about anything. He's even going to get an early shot to at least look at playing corner, even though he's over 6'4". I don't expect him to end up there, but Joey O'Brien is a rare player because the way he tracks the football and anticipates at that size is really unique. I'm guessing he will end up playing free safety at some point. That would be the most natural spot for him. But in today's world, you got to play in the box and back. And he's a pretty physical kid. He bends well at the knees. He's fluid in the hips. He's going to have to refine technically like everybody else. But the skills that he's already shown, Joey O'Brien is a player that I think will play pretty early for Notre Dame, even though they're loaded in the secondary. And they've got a ton of length. So that's certainly not a bad thing. They've got Chaston Smith. They've got all those kids they brought in this past year, Dallas Golden, et cetera. So Mike Mickens and his crew, they're really getting it done in the secondary. But the guy that they never seem to really consistently get is the one I'm going to mention next. And that's Rodney Dunham, the guy that's a little more physically advanced, like he looks the part. Looks like he's 21 years old already from the neck down. But he's a kid, still got a year of high school left. He's at Myers Park High School in Charlotte, North Carolina. National recruit. Some people think he's a top 10 recruit, like Rivals. Other people just think he's top 100. But either way, he's like 6'4", 225 pounds, super twitchy, super long, plays physical against the run. And he's a kid that is a natural bend the edge, just going to go right around you, dip my shoulder, rip move, and get to the quarterback. Those guys don't normally go to Notre Dame. And now that they're starting to add them consistently, it's going to be hard. And he's not the only pass rusher they have, but I'm just going to talk about him today. This is a balanced class. Got Noah Grubbs at quarterback. They got Javion Osborne. They've got a ton of guys. Notre Dame's hit rate the last few years has been good anyway. And again, it starts in the trenches. They got Tiki Hola, the defensive tackle. They've got a nice group there. They recruit balanced, but here's the final piece that I'll end with. And if you're going to follow recruiting for your team or anybody else, this is the new trend. It's not who you sign, it's who you keep. Are you bringing players to your campus that aren't just good, but want to be there because they like the school and not because of the number on the NIL line? You must sign elite players that really want to be at your school before you even talk NIL. If not, even if they stay, are you really getting the players that are going to give full maximum effort to that program, Notre Dame or otherwise? Clemson, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, maybe Illinois. Those are the programs that I know enough about to say they've got great culture. They're getting kids that really want to be there, and they're all ranked high. They're all doing good things. Illinois has come out of nowhere. Culture, culture, culture. Notre Dame recruits that way too, and I think it's one of the reasons that they're going to be a national program for a very long time competing for titles. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Truly appreciate you stopping in and getting all your latest scoop. We will see you again soon. Take care.